Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen, welcome back to Sunday Morning and the Old Cookbook Show. Today we're going to do a recipe out of this cookbook. This was sent in by a viewer. Thank you very much for sending it to me. It is called The Larkin Housewives Cookbook. Now when it first arrived, I looked at it and said, oh, that's great. It's another community cookbook from some place called Larkin. I filed it away and thought I'm going to take a look at that in a little while and I'll pull out a recipe and do it. And so when I finally did pull the book out and look inside, the first recipe that I looked at called for Larkin baking powder. And I thought, oh, Larkin is a company that manufactures baking powder. It's an industry cookbook. And as I looked at that recipe, I also realized that it is a community cookbook in that the Larkin patrons have sent in their favorite recipes, which is not uncommon for this time period or even for today. And then as I read through some of the other recipes, I realized that they called for Larkin peanut butter, and you put it through a Larkin meat chopper, and you put it in a Larkin pan, and you put it in a Larkin pot, a Larkin casserole dish. And I thought, who's Larkin? So I went down a rabbit hole and I looked it up. Beginning it says, published by the Larkin Company, established 1875, pure food specialists, Buffalo, New York. And Buffalo is a city that's right behind me here, just across the lake, not too far away. So did a little bit of research and came to realize that the Larkin Company was an absolutely massive, massive company in this time period. Dedicated to mail order. They sent out catalogs. They sort of went through periods where they had salespeople who sold. They had what they called the Larkin secretaries who ran parties, just like a Tupperware party or say like Avon salespeople, but mostly direct to consumer, direct from the factory via mail order from their catalogs. And they either made the products in-house or they had them white labeled. They had other manufacturers make them, put the Larkin name on them, and then they just shipped them from their warehouses. They were like Amazon in the early 1900s if Amazon made all of the products on the website. And they were into everything. They were into clothing, they were into furniture, they were into kitchenware, they were into food. Absolutely amazing array of products. And they also had a real hand in the cultural progress of Buffalo as a city. They had Frank Lloyd Wright come in and design and build their office tower. And then he stuck around and built houses for a bunch of the executives of Larkin in and around Buffalo. Giant company. Of course, it didn't last. During the Great Depression, they fell into a decline. Depending on which history you read, they sold the brand name to another company who tried to carry on into the 60s, and that was the end of it. So today, we're going to do a recipe called Michigan Hash, and it was sent in by Mrs. Rowe from Fort Smith, Arkansas. And it seems like a recipe that is very similar to a lot of other recipes from this time period. So first we start off with 1 pound of Hamburg steak. And I'm supposed to layer the Hamburg steak in the bottom of a baking dish. Now, Hamburg steak is, I realize, one of those English isms that doesn't mean the same to everybody and hasn't meant the same through time. I've realized through the comment section that globally, depending on where you live, hamburger or Hamburg only means one thing, and that is the sandwich. That is the patty of beef between two buns with, whatever condiments you want on it. But down through time, Hamburg can mean minced meat like this or chopped beef like this. It can also mean the patty on its own, or it could mean the sandwich. It has all of those multiple meanings. So a few weeks ago, I did Hamburger Helper, and that threw a lot of people. They were like in the comment section, well, where's the hamburgers? I don't understand what you're talking about. Why is that called Hamburger Helper? One of the vagaries of the English language. Okay, I'll just wash my hands again. Now I'm supposed to season each layer with Larkin salt, black pepper, and celery salt. And though it doesn't explicitly say Larkin black pepper or Larkin celery salt, further investigation through the book reveals that they made each of these products as well. So you would be expected to use each of their products. And I'm going to go easy on the celery salt because it can be a little bit overpowering. There we go. Next in is 1 cup of cooked Larkin rice. So put a layer of this on. If this seems familiar, it's very close to other things that we've done in the past or other dishes from this time period that go by different names. So in goes the rice. Now, I didn't cook the Hamburg. It didn't explicitly say to cook the Hamburg. It only mentioned that the rice and the macaroni are cooked. So, and we'll season this layer with some pepper and a little bit of celery salt and a little bit of salt. I'm going to go easy on the salt on this layer though, because I don't think I need quite as much. Next ingredient, it calls for 2 cups cooked Larkin macaroni. So I've got this elbow macaroni. And I don't know if that's correct because on the next page over, there's a recipe for salmagundi, and it calls for Larkin shortcut macaroni. So did they make 2 kinds of macaroni? Did they make the long version that you had to break up, and did they make a short version? Who knows? So I'm going to put that in. And the recipe tells us that this can be either hot or cold. So you could be working with leftovers here. And I think this is a great way to use up leftovers if you have leftover rice. Or leftover macaroni, though I don't know why you would have leftover macaroni. I can see leftover rice. And we'll season that with some Larkin black pepper. A little bit more celery salt. And some salt. Now, I'm supposed to pour some strained tomatoes over the top. Strangely, it doesn't say Larkin tomatoes. I can't imagine they didn't make a type of tomato. So I've got some crushed tomato here, and I'm supposed to pour these over top until quite moist. So I imagine that's the entire can. And now I sprinkle cracker crumbs over top, and then stick it in the oven and bake it for 45 minutes.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, friends. Fork or spoon? That's a lot of carbohydrates.
Spoon. Let's say spoon.
That's it. There's looks like there's rice and pasta and crackers.
Rice, pasta, crackers. Yes. Light on the spicing.
Well, that's,
Par for the course for
Yeah.
this time period. Yeah.
and then it has all the criteria to be comfort food.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, I can tell by your tone. I haven't even had any.
Yeah. So it's kind of this weird mix of a casserole version of what some people would call American goulash, or chili mac, or American chop suey. A lot of the same ingredients, just put in a different way and spiced differently. And I find all of those things really comforting.
And the best thing about something like this is that you can put whatever spice makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could put jerk spice in this and it'd be pretty good.
Jerk spice would be really good in this. Yeah, so mix it up. You don't have to put in celery salt. If you don't like celery salt, and I'm not a big fan of celery salt, switch it up, change it. But for the basics of a really easy, inexpensive weekday meal, or even something to make for heating up for lunches later, this is great. And you're going to see lots more from the Larkin Housewives Cookbook. Because the Larkin Company, who knew? Like that.
It's a surprise to everyone.
Surprise.
Except, of course, perhaps the Larkins.
Yes, and there probably still are Larkins in Buffalo, just across the lake behind us.
There you go.
Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.